I think more and more entrepreneurs like me, we enjoy building something, building something to a level where it is fun. And after that, to scale it to a different level, it is not as much fun. It probably starts to require a little bit more of capital, and it starts to get a little bit more competitive as well. So you have to identify your strengths and weaknesses while running a business. That look, what got you here? Will it get you there, or will it require something different? And I think we were quite street smart about it. So I think there was a good time, to be honest, to sell the business.
This is Hackers to Founders, a podcast about cybersecurity professionals who have reached the pinnacle of their cybersecurity expertise and have ventured into new frontiers, whether it's launching innovative startups or making impactful investments in our industry. My name is Chris Magistrato, and I'm a vulnerability researcher best known for traveling and meeting hackers from all around the world. And I'm using what little extrovert skills I have to introduce to you hackers that are changing the world. All right, and welcome back to the Hackers to Founders podcast, where we dive into the journey of cybersecurity pros who have taken the leap from technical trenches to the entrepreneurial front lines. Today, I'm excited to introduce to you the powerhouse in the InfoSec world, Sumit Siddharth, though he goes by Sid. Sid's career is a testament to the power of curiosity, resilience, and strategic thinking. Originally from India, Sid moved to the UK over 17 years ago and quickly made a name for himself, not only as a seasoned pen tester, but as a thought leader and a speaker at multiple conferences such as Black Hat, DEF CON, and Hack in the Box. He's contributed to a widely respected book, SQL Injections, Attack and Defense, and he has delivered talks on everything from web hacking to advanced SQL injection techniques. Sid is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of several successful ventures, including NotSoSecure, one of the industry's go-to for pen testing services and training, which he eventually scaled and sold. Today, he is the CEO of SecOps Group, and he's pushing the envelope once again by challenging traditional training models with exam-focused certificates designed to test and certify real-world pen testing skills. Beyond that, he is also an angel investor and mentor to emerging InfoSec startups, helping to build the next generation of cybersecurity innovators. In this episode, we'll explore Sid's journey from the early days in India to his rise up to the corporate ladder in the UK, his bold leap into entrepreneurship, and his unique approach to scaling and eventually selling his business. Plus, we'll dive into what drives him today as he invests in new ventures and pioneers new models of cybersecurity education. So without further ado, let's welcome Sid to the show. Welcome, Sid.
Thank you, Chris. Those were really nice words. I don't know if I'm worthy for all those that you mentioned, but okay, I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah, take it, man. Enjoy it. It was one of the podcast episodes that I listened to. It said that you're originally from India. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. I grew up in a small town of India called Lucknow. But I was fortunate enough to go into India's top university called IIT. I went to a university called IIT Kanpur. I wasn't fortunate enough to secure a place which will guarantee a computer science degree for me. So, I graduated with a degree in material science and metallurgy.
Oh, interesting.
And, yeah, exactly. And by the time the second year started, I realized, okay, this has been an error. This has been like...
Was it boring, or was it just like, I can't do anything with this?
I suppose boring, and there wasn't a single day in my life when I was on board with metallurgy. As soon as they started talking about iron and steel and ores and whatever, I would switch off. But what fortunately worked for me is that back in the day, so you're going back to 2004, 2005, that sort of an era, our university, which was one of India's premier university, had a very good computer network. So, and it had a very good Unix infrastructure. It had a Solaris infrastructure, which I vividly remember. And it also had some Windows boxes back then. So and it was one of those which had internet available in those days, etc. So you had your own, you don't have to go to a cyber cafe to access internet, which outside of university you would typically go. So in terms of learning things outside of your stream and doing things on, there was plenty of options. And I think that played a really huge part in where I am right now.
Did you spend time learning with some of the resources that you had with the internet at the time? Like, would you go into the lab and start learning, or was it something else entirely?
As much as I would like to take credit for it, I mean, university these days is all about playing Quake and Age of Empire.
Okay, yeah, all right, good. You're playing games, right? I was playing StarCraft too, so yeah, I understand completely.
So, but yeah, look, outside of that, I did take a little interest in hacking. I was very curious about, okay, where are these passwords stored? I remember very clearly back in the days, the Unix systems were particularly of interest because the password file was just openly available. It was not etc shadow, it was just etc password. So it was a case of, just grabbing etc password, cracking it, John the Ripper, and you just basically become instant heroes. You crack somebody's password because you know how to run John the Ripper, and password file is readily available. So stardom came quite immediately. The tagline of hacker was very easy to get if you could read up a few articles on the internet. And I think that's where the interest starts to develop. Okay, how do we secure this, or how do we further this? How do we back in the days, hacking was not as easy as, well, it was easy in the sense that systems were more vulnerable, I suppose, than what they are now. But even compiling an exploit was a job, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't a case of GCC minus this and that, and exploit has been compiled. You realize, oh, this file is not running, or that file is not running. I mean, forget about compiling the exploit. I mean, even the audio drivers, right? Back in the days of Red Hat or SUSE Linux, as it was. I don't know if you had a chance to go through some of those. Compiling an audio driver would be a hacker's would not be a child's play. That's how the curiosity grew, and that's how I got into it.
Oh, beautiful. So, what were some of the articles and things that you were reading? Was it like Frack or 2600 or something else entirely?
Yeah, I remember Frack was there for sure. Just Google, just internet. I think I don't know if it is still there, but back in the days there was a website called hackthisite.org.
Yeah, I remember that site.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do you? Okay, okay. And it was just starting off. And, they would have some challenges, some articles, and I would spend some nights trying into it. But, in all credibility to the university where I went, they also had this international hacking contest. Um,
Really?
yeah, exactly.
That's really advanced for the time, right?
Right, right. For 2003, 2004 years era, to have those kind of contests was really incredible, and that really just put everything on steroid for me. And there was like, yeah, this is the area. Funnily enough, so during the university days, everybody gets campus placement, and there are some companies in India which would come and recruit in bulk, especially from IITs, and IBM is one of them, and Wipro, Infosys is another, and I was one of those got recruited into IBM. And on day one of my corporate job at IBM, I realized, just like I got into metallurgy, by mistake, I am here in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I need to do something about it now. Otherwise, this is going to end up in a disaster. So, and this is going back to 2005 era. Back in those, ethical hacking wasn't really an established field. Right? If you told anybody 2005 you wanted to be a professional hacker, or you wanted to do penetration testing, people would be like, "What does that even mean?" My parents were really worried that I will end up in a jail, the way things are shaping out. So, but there
So
was
they knew that you were doing some stuff. They just like, oh, he's on the computer again, and like,
Yeah, I mean, I found some like-minded people, and I think, look, one of the things, and we'll probably talk about it at a later stage when we talk about investment or growth or success, in general. And I feel the role of your peers in your success is probably the least talked about topic. I've always found a way to find the right peers for me with whom I can learn, grow, and they will have some qualities which I will lack, and try to see how I can get into that position. So even in university days, although I wasn't in the computer science, stream, I was in a metallurgy stream. I would talk to those people in computer science, and they would probably not be interested into hacking, and I would be, and I will try to get their brains and get them excited into hacking. So because I think if they were to hack, they would hack much better and much elegant than me, and in the process I would learn it faster. So that was my hack to get them into hacking. But I'll talk about more about it as time goes by. But yeah, so they knew that I was hanging out with people with that sort of mindset.
the people that you surround yourself with become a large part of who you are. It's like you are this. I heard like you're the summation of your five closest friends. So like if you're not where you're at, it's like look at the five people you're closest to. Are they where you want to be? Because if not, then you probably need to build out your network. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So again, so I'll just if I can fast forward it. So my first corporate job in the UK. I know you have probably have this question later on. My was at a company called Portcullis in UK, and within first when I first went in there, I went in with an attitude. Look, you've basically imported this top-notch hacker from India. So guys, please look at me. I'm the big dude, and
Okay, okay. That was the
and
attitude as soon as you got your job in. They're like, oh, this is the guy.
yeah, I had I think an air of supremacy about me in initial days, but that air of supremacy lasted for like a week when
A
I
week.
realized
Okay. What
when I
happened?
realized that look mate, this is not true, and you better you better look have a good hard look at yourself in the mirror, because these people that you're surrounded with are damn clever, and unless and until you do something about it, you're gonna be left behind. But and funnily enough, this is probably the changing. This is where my life completely changed. Some of the people in that company were superstars in the making, and I'll throw in some names here, and I hope they don't mind me mentioning them here. One of the guy over who eventually ended up in my as a best friend, and we still are really good friends, Farah Mavituna, who ended up starting NetSparker,
Oh
which is
wow.
now
Yeah.
called Invicti. Another guy who we imported from Italy, Bernardo, who ended up making SQL Map.
Oh, he
Um,
created SQL map. Okay, beautiful.
yeah, another really good friend of mine, Mark Lowe, who you possibly know him as Pentest Monkey, pentestmonkey.net.
Yeah.
The founder of Nipper, Ian, a Cisco audit tool, and so many rock stars. We were all in the same room. In the Alberto was there, quite a few guys, and so many more. And some of them. Um, one thing I've realized is success. Don't necessarily. Some people have achieved success. Some people will achieve success. So some of these names that I have not may not have taken, they will probably eventually end up making it big. It's just a case of time. Not now, maybe in another 5 years time. So I was really blessed. I was really blessed to be working alongside them and realizing that this is the moment. This is the moment to shut up and learn rather than speak loud and never not listen a thing.
Nice. So when you showed up, what was your role there at the company at the time?
It was a pen tester. So it was a pen testing role, and we would. I vividly remember, So I rented an apartment on top of a shop. It was a Indian shop and restaurant on top of it. It was a one-bedroom apartment that I rented, and Pharaoh, the guy who started NetSparker, he was just opposite. Sorry, he was just opposite me, and he would also rent a one bed apartment shop over a pizza place, and we would walk to work in about like 1 mile or so. Walk to work, and that walk to the work and 1 mile back home, I would just keep quiet and listen to him. And I think that sort of thing that really helped me, and I kind of miss those days. That being able to spend time with such clever people. So yeah, sorry. Coming back to the question, yeah, the role was pen tester. There were like 20 of us, or maybe 30 of us, doing pen testing on a daily basis, finding vulnerabilities. Back then, pen testing had a different meaning. We did not have Burp Suite. We had Pharaoh's proxy.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't a case of right click and do an active scan, right? It was every bug was made up of blood, sweat, and tears. There was hardly any crawlers back then. There was maybe Dirbuster or some of those tools here. So the pen testing was, although you can say that finding bugs, we were finding bugs on a daily basis. Finding bugs nowadays is not as or good sexy bugs is not as prevalent in today's day and age. So it had a slightly different meaning, but nevertheless, it was a lot of fun. I think they were probably the best days of my life.
Oh, beautiful. What made it the best days of your life? Would you say?
I think the peers, for sure, peers.
Yeah.
Learn. I think, and I say this to a lot of people, who are looking for a job. Ask yourself this question: am I enjoying my time working for someone? During your career growth, there will be a phase, there will be a period of time where you will just have to sit down and learn and grow. Okay, and you are probably not going to earn the most in that time window, but you have to balance it out. If you are always making commercial decisions in life, that look, I can find a job which is maybe 1.5x 2x better paying, than what I am right now. Can always find a job which is far better paying than what you are currently. And if you want to carry on job hopping here and there just for just dollar chasing, then eventually you will find that you have lost on that time in which you should have learned. So if you sit down, buckle down at the right time and identify, look, maybe yes, I can earn extra 10K, 5K, whatever. But I'm going to sacrifice that because these peers that I have in this role are really amazing and they can really push my journey. I think that was a decision that I feel was worthwhile in my career.
Do you feel like a lot of people reach that point in their careers where it's like, I could go get this bigger job, or I can stay here and work with these like really, really talented people, and that sometimes they don't know what to do?
I think that is the beauty of startups. I had this saying. The words fail me, but it goes something like, startups create rock stars, and enterprises hire rock stars, and then the rock stars would leave enterprises to create startups.
Yeah, yeah, I love that actually. That makes a lot of sense.
So I found that the Portcullis, for example, definitely created rock stars. And now when I went back after few years, fast forward a few years, when I started the business, I took upon the mantle of, okay, let's be the next Portcullis. Let's create some rock stars. And when I hire people and the people that currently are at SecOps Group, I always tell them, look, some one of the things that I am a big believer of, that we all get a window of opportunity to work with each other, in our corporate lives, and we have to maximize that window. How much we can learn from each other, how much we can grow each other. I think they are really important things. And one of the things that really excites me in being an entrepreneur is that I can see some rock stars in the making, and it is the journey of creating the rock stars from scratch that is, I think, the most beautiful aspect of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, is seeing the growth of individuals and stuff like that
Yeah.
as you're building.
And you see yourself in that position, and you see that, look, this guy, his rate of growth has been exponential, and maybe you can push him even further and see where he grows. And you recognize as a business owner or as an entrepreneur that, look, he's not going to be here forever, but whatever time he is here, what else can he do? Where else can he contribute to the business? What else can we do as a business person at the back of his skills and ability?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's this other topic that's maybe not as sexy, but it is around like talent and being in the startup. Have you ever had to like work with people that, maybe is you originally thought like, oh yeah, this person will be great, but then it doesn't turn out to be so, and then you have to figure out how to handle that as an entrepreneur?
It happens all the time. I mean, look, people oversell stuff. Sometimes as a business, you oversell stuff. Sometimes
Yeah,
as
yeah.
individuals, you oversell stuff. But eventually, reality catches up with you. We've all had time where we might have projected ourselves a little bit better than what we were, and then we've had a little reality check, and that's okay, as long as the individual is happy to go back to the grind and do the hard yards. Maybe not in this role, maybe in the other role. Life is a great leveler.
Yeah. That's beautiful. All right, excellent. So I want to know, like, what was the jump between, I'm working with the company, I'm enjoying the talent that I'm around, I'm learning so much, to then want to start your own company? Did it happen immediately, or did you go to another company right after that first company that you were at?
After Portcullis, I left Portcullis I had the moment when some peers were leaving, and I felt that I have learned. My rate of learning was not growing at the same rate. It was fun still, but it wasn't as much fun perhaps in what it was, and saturation was getting was seeping in. Then I came to Cambridge in UK, and I took a role with a startup, which was more of a leadership role, head of pen testing, growing a team, building a team, etc. And that was really good fun. And what that role enabled me was to see a startup from a different angle, where the management wasn't keeping me at an arm's length. Management was more than happy for me to have a look at a wider business and see what is working, what is not working. And that gave me a good insight into um, business acumens, how many people do we need to to basically call it a business for sales, for tech, etc. But what really helped was 7safe at that time, which I worked for, got acquired by a company called PA Consulting in Cambridge as well. Although it was good and I saw the transition happening and everything, firsthand, etc., I didn't necessarily enjoy the corporate side of things. I always felt that pen testing is best done best left with boutique startups, because as much as you would like to put science to it, there is also an aspect of art associated with pen testing. And if you try to put too much procedures and policies in place, then the art aspect or the human aspect kind of goes missing. So I left that, and that's when I started NotSoSecure.
Okay. And then, okay, great. This is terrific. So while you were at 7safe, you said you were around and saw the structure of what it takes to run a pen testing firm. Did you also were you exposed to any of the sales side or being able to sign contracts at that company, or did you jump full in when you went to know NotSoSecure, when you created NotSoSecure, and be like, damn, I got to go find clients?
I think there was a trigger, but there was a trigger where, and I think that is the hardest decision any entrepreneur has to make, because most of them are probably fairly skilled, fairly at a fairly good salaries. Okay, and to basically call it quits at the toss of a coin and say tomorrow I'll start a business, it takes a lot of guts. In my case, yes, there was a trigger, but it was building up, week, months, 6 months. It was getting harder and harder to basically accept. And I call it the calling. When you have your calling, you know that your time is up here. But I was prepared. I said to my wife, I distinctly remember I said to my wife, look, I'm prepared to sleep on the street, but I'm not going to work for anybody else. And if I fail, I fail, but I'm not going to die wondering. And I think to this day, even when I start a business or a new business or an investing business, that philosophy remains true. That don't do anything half-hearted. NotSoSecure didn't have success overnight, although the first year was still very good. I would say I don't think that we had a tough year in that business. It was just me. I was doing freelance pen testing.
Yeah. How
I
did you
was
get your first few clients?
basically subcontracting. So
Subcontracting. Okay.
leading up to this, I was doing a lot of trainings at Black Hat and other places individually.
Okay. Very
Um,
good.
and I was meeting people, but I had two or three people who I have spoken to before I quit my job, and I said, look, if I was to leave, would you consider giving me some work, and it would be at a nominal rate, etc. And they said yes. So I knew that there will be a stream of income come through, and but I did not know how much income or when it will come. But I had a little bit of assurance. Look, something will come. Um, so and I knew that I wanted to go down the training route as well. I wanted to run more training courses, etc. The funny story, the success of Not So Secure, I think, was built around the training sector. NotSoSecure would then go on. So it started off with me just running one training class, and then obviously as and consultancy business. But then as the business grew, I took a decision, which I think was the best decision, was to say I am not going to train anymore. I'm not going to be the trainer. I'm going to create
Yes.
trainers.
Yes. Yes.
So you have to let go, and that was a hard decision because I was getting addicted to the stardom. I was getting addicted to the stage. I was getting all the laurels, this and that. But I realized, look, if I have to scale up, I need to let go of this. So I was fortunate enough to work with some very talented people at NotSoSecure, and eventually they would end up being and still are phenomenal trainers. And we went from running one training course at Black Hat, which I would teach, to running say 8 or 9 courses at Black Hat Las Vegas. At the peak, I think when NotSoSecure was acquired, we were training roughly around 600 people in Las Vegas alone over 4 days of Black Hat.
600 people. Wow. That's phenomenal. So the majority of the revenue was through training, is that correct?
Now, the trainings would bring a lot of revenue, and a lot of revenue would come in those 4 days alone. But at the back of the trainings and the goodwill, it will help the branding. It will push the brand quite a lot, and you will network with a lot of people during the training. So you will inevitably get business at the back of those training days. Yeah. So and that will feed into the pen testing business, so to speak.
Wow, that's amazing. So you led with the training side of things, then figured out like in order to scale, you have to create trainers. So you taught and educated the people how to do it, or at least brought people in that knew the concept of what you guys were doing. And then from there, you got leads to be able to get more pen testing gigs. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So it has to be cyclic. You will have to first build great content for training. Identify where are the gaps in the industry, and not just build great content for training. I think position the trainings correctly. At Black Hat website, there will be what 70 odd trainings to choose from. Why would somebody choose your training over the other 69 trainings? So the key thing was, which I realized, was positioning. The clarity in message was very important, so it stands out. And I think we did a really good job over there, and I think so.
How did you guys do that? How did you guys position yourself?
I suppose back to the basics, really keeping the message really clean. Some of the trainings that if I read a title of a training and it does not make sense and I have to read it twice, I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, same with talks too, I think.
Some of the Yeah, exactly, same to the talk. I mean, if you have to choose from 5 different talks in that hour at Black Hat, 5 tracks or whatever, 7 tracks, which you will probably choose the one which makes sense after you read it first, right? So for me the messaging was the key. And I so one of NotSoSecure's best selling training course was called Advanced Infrastructure Hacking. As simple as that. We didn't try to jeopardize it by saying, look, extra n number of adjectives thrown into it or whatever. And I think that is one very important message that I still follow, and I give it to entrepreneurs, is keep the messaging crystal clear. When we talk about SecOps Group and exam, etc., etc., I have tried to follow the same sort of principle. Whether or not it has worked or not, when I come onto your podcast, Chris, in 2 years' time, when you are hosting it on the big stage in Las Vegas, then we can discuss.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so then what led up to the acquisition, and how did that sale happen? Did they approach you? Did you approach them?
Now we appointed an advisor, and we were looking for a sale. We identified that, look, the business is going through an exceptional growth, and it needs a new home. Because I think as entrepreneurs, I have often find it difficult when the business reaches a certain stage to scale. And I think at that point in time, it is probably best. And I think more and more entrepreneurs like me, we enjoy building something to a level where it is fun. And after that, to scale it to a different level, it is not as much fun. It probably starts to require a little bit more of capital, and it starts to get a little bit more competitive as well. So you have to identify your strengths and weaknesses while running a business. That, look, what got you here? Will it get you there, or will it require something different? And I think we were quite street smart about it. So I think there was a good time, to be honest, to sell the business.
Yeah, you've described serial entrepreneurship like perfectly, where people generally like to create a business. They like the startup vibe, right? Where it's maybe you and a couple of other people and you're building something incredible together. But once it gets to a certain size and you're bogged down with more corporate red tape, and things generally shift and stuff. So yeah. Yeah, terrific. So it sounds like you like more of the startup era part, not when things are going to like bigger sizes like Series A or B, and things are getting a bit more massive.
Yeah, look, if you are VC funded, and then it's a different kettle of fish. So my businesses have all typically been services business. Okay, services business, VCs do not have any appetite to invest into services business because they don't return quite same multiple as a products business. And you will hardly find, although nowadays with some companies like Bishop Fox, etc., VCs have shown interest because they have productized their services as well. But yeah, you will find typically VCs will not be interested in that.
Very true. Yeah, it's the same exact thing. I was looking for my recruiting agency when I was building it up. I'm like, I'm after reading like
how much multiples that like a product-based business will sell. I'm like, cool, how much will my agency sell for? And it was like 1.6 to 2x at most. I was like, that's really small compared to what all these other products one are. Were you able to, or are you able to speak about like how much you were able to get in terms of like revenue based and like what type of multiple that you guys got, or a range of it? So in case people want to start up their own agency or firm, that they have an idea of like what it could sell for?
I wouldn't want to comment on the exact numbers for my exit, but what I can say is typically it's a multiple of EBITDA, and services-based business will typically sell for 5x EBITDA to 7x EBITDA, and that would depend on a number of factors. What is your biggest customer? How watertight are these contracts? What are the chances of them not renewing the contract? What is the spread of the customer base? What geographical locations you are serving? How best the acquirer will be able to leverage your services? What sort of model? Those kind of things. Ultimately, what is the thing worth? It is basically depending on how badly somebody wants to acquire you.
Yeah. And okay, so everything you just said, I learned on my own. How did you learn all of these things? Because I'm sure there's not other hackers that are like, oh yeah, it's obviously based off the EBITDA. Like, you know what I mean? How did you learn this?
Just like how I learned hacking, mate. It was just a case of, and I think that's the thing. These things are not taught in university. One of the things that I firmly believe in, that the principles of hacking. This is again one of my copyright quote. If I ever write a book, I'm going to use it as a.
You will write a book. You should write a book. I'll be the first one to buy it.
I don't know, but look, one of the quotes that I firmly believe in is that the principles of hacking don't apply just to computers; they apply to other walks of life too. So some of it is that mindset that you are going in with hacking. If you keep it open, and you identify your strengths and weaknesses, you can leverage them better in life.
Exactly, and that's where our company, Top Cleared Recruiting, comes in. Finding the right cybersecurity talent with the necessary clearances can be a major hurdle. Did you know that it could take 8 to 15 months on average to hire somebody with a TS SEI plus full polyscope? At Top Cleared Recruiting, we have a network of 1.3 million cleared professionals, ranging from C&O developers, reverse engineers, and data scientists. Whether you're working on offensive operations or data analysis, we connect you with the elite talent you need fast. Visit topclearedrecruiting.com and let us help you to find the perfect candidate, already cleared and ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that 100%. I have my own quote as well. Like I got a few quotes too, but the one of them was that, the definition of like hacking, what does it mean to hack? Originally, I said, you hack something, you change the original purpose of it, or whatever the case is. Then I met a guy, and he's like talking about his ex, and he's like, yeah, she hacked my life and just made it terrible. And I was like, I don't want the definition of hacking to be malicious or bad. I was like, okay, no, you change something to make it better. I like redesigned the word of hacking, but yeah, I agree with that 100%. One of the things I say is like, if you want to start a business, it's difficult, it's hard, there's a lot of failures, you won't know what to do. But if you are into cybersecurity and you're a hacker, like, you have thick skin, you've tried to do multiple things, you tried to run an exploit, you tried to find a vulnerability, you spent a lot of time failing. So bringing it over to the business world, you have a better, thicker skin than most people if you could just keep trying, keep working on it. Would you say that's accurate, or you have any experience or stories around this?
I'll give you a very good example that will just put this into perspective so much better, and hopefully you can relate to it. We haven't talked about my business SecOps Group, but I'm sure you know about it. And
we're getting up there. I'm going through the LinkedIn list of everything. We got investor side of stuff, but if you want to jump there, we can jump there. Go ahead.
So SecOps Group is known for its pen testing business, right? I mean, you found us because of our not pen testing services business, but pen testing exams business.
Yes, the exam service that you guys had offered at Black Hat last year. You guys spoke with Dark Readings, if I'm not mistaken, speaking about how you guys don't give trainings, but specific, I don't know if you guys do now, but at the time, not giving trainings, focusing on the certificates, so that way people can go sit down and have a more relaxed type of certificate. It doesn't have to be 24 to 48 hours, that they can sit down and take this, and it can show that their skills, and as well as it's affordable. This is my understanding. Please correct correct and change anything that I
So
said wrong.
I'll first talk about SecOps Group, what we do, etc., etc. But remind me to come back to the question of how it started, the exam business in particular.
Yeah,
And I
please.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, that is the point that I wanted to come to when we were talking about failures, and how do you turn it around. But okay, look, SecOps Group is a consulting business primarily. We're a small boutique startup. We are a team of about 25 consultants. We do pen testing services. We do under pen testing, application network, mobile apps, APIs, all red teaming, purple teaming, all those kind of things. But we also have an education side to the business. The education side to the business is that we run pen testing exams. Our exams are online and on demand. They are under three different silos: entry level, which we call essentials, then the professional level, then the expert level. Um, and so think of it us as when so the problem is there is not too many equivalents to what we do, because most companies, training companies, follow a traditional model in which they first provide the training, then they take an exam. In some cases they don't even take an exam, or they only provide trainings, right? Or if you look at offensive security, they will provide a training material, and then which is a self-learning training material, and then at the back of it there is an exam, and then they have number of certifications or exams in their portfolio. But I think one of a great, if you want to compare us as with Crest. So Crest runs exam only. No, Crest is a really big agency, and or not an agency. I think an industry body, I would say, and they run multiple cybersecurity exams. Their exams are very popular. Crest CCT, Crest CRT, CPSA, etc. So we would like to think that we are essentially Crest, but built to scale. So our exams are far more affordable, far more cheaper, far more online and on demand and convenient. And we'd like to think that our exams cover a lot of modern topics which even Crest and other people don't have. For example, we have an exam on LLM pen testing. We have an exam on iOS pen testing and Android pen testing, etc.
Who's your guys' target audience for your certificates? And
So I'll give you some stats first. It's the exam business has only been running for 15 months now, but in last 12 months, over 50,000 people have taken our exams. And I think the beauty is that we cover the length and breadth. So we cover our entry level exams are something like called certified AppSec practitioner, which is so the three silos that I talked about. The entry levels is 60-minute, 60 multiple choice questions. They are for people who want to break into pen testing, who may have the decent theoretical knowledge, may not have practical knowledge, and they can test it out in our entry level exams. Then we have the professional exams, which are for people who have been doing 2+ years of professional pen testing. And there we have a wide variety of exams. We have, for example, AppSec pen tester, we have network pen tester, we have Android pen tester, iOS pen tester exam. Then we have the LLM pen testing exam. Then the third tier is the expert tier, which we call as the ultimate black belt of pen testing, in which we are currently adding more exams to the portfolio. But there are two exams currently. One is on AWS pen testing, and the second is on AppSec pen testing.
are you guys gonna do like Azure and Google Cloud Provider next?
Hope so. I mean, it's been one hell of a 15 months for us building these exams, etc. Yeah, the idea is to expand the portfolio and to basically allow our audience to test their skills in different silos. And that's the other thing, if you have to point somebody in today's day and age, and this is me not trying to be the business owner and just, blowing my own trumpet, a traditional path to get into pen testing, even in today's day and age, is what? OffSec. You have to have an OSCP.
You got OffSec, you have SANS, but SANS generally you're working at a company, they'll pay for it. Yeah,
Exactly.
OffSec. OffSec's like the entry level if you don't have the job yet or you haven't had your first job. Yeah.
Again, at OffSec, if you look at traditionally at their model, that if you tell everybody who's doing pen testing that you need to have OffSec to begin with, right? And OffSec typically is Active Directory pen testing, or a lot of it is Active Directory pen testing, a little bit of exploit writing, etc. In today's day and age, web pen testing is far bigger than traditional network pen testing. I have hired very good AppSec pen testers, and I continue to do so, who have zero understanding of Active Directory. So forcing everybody to learn Active Directory pen testing to break into pen testing is not right, and somebody has to stand up to it. So that's what we are trying to do with our exams. We are basically very clear that look, if you want to take on AppSec path, then there is an AppSec path. You don't have to go into network.
Yeah, so I do have a question. So I thought the OSCP was specific to web applications. Is it also
Well,
including?
they have multiple exams, but I think one of their famous exam, offensive security, which gets called out, etc., is traditionally network pen testing and other bits thrown into it. So, our model is very, very different from them. We are exam only, so we don't provide training courses. We provide a detailed syllabus which people can study, and people are happy to basically study for those topics from wherever they want. We are not going to provide them any official training. What we do provide is we have listed some resources which they may find helpful in understanding those topics, which is on our exam syllabus website. In some cases, we also provide free mock exams. So if people go to our website, they can see there is a free mock exam category, and they can take those. They don't even have to need a VPN to do that. All our exams are online and on demand. They don't have to schedule anything, and our exam windows are also very convenient. So the entry level exam is 60 minutes only. uh, the professional exams are 4 hours CTF style exam. So people will do some hacking, they will submit some flags, they will solve some questions based on the exam scenarios, etc. And the experts are 7 hour exam, which is, as I said, the black belt, but that's the maximum time somebody will spend on our exams.
Okay. And then I originally asked what kind of market do you guys like service and stuff like that. And the reason for that is I know in the United States, for government contracting, right? So if you want to bid on a contract for the United States government, they sometimes list what types of certificates that not just they want, but sometimes are required for. So there's some cases where they'll say like this SANS or CISSP is probably the most common one. They're like, if you have this, like, we will hire somebody, but they need their CISSP. It actually eliminates a lot of potential businesses as competition, and then whoever has a person with a CISSP on their team, they win those contracts and stuff like that. So I just want to know if you guys have ever considered, or if you guys work in the U.S. market at all, because having certificates and then having people say like, "We need this certificate because it's so good, because it's what you'll be doing," can really make them stand apart in terms of competition in the United States.
When you are an entrepreneur and you want to have a tag like disruptor associated with you, then you need to understand that look, you are in a fight, and the fight is to change that narrative, and that narrative will change, and it will take time. So some of these certificates, for example, OSCP, etc., they have been running for what, 15 years, 20 years, something like that. And our exam has been running for 18 months. So and already industry has taken a notice of our exams. We have made huge headway. We made a huge impact into the exam sector already. I firmly believe so. I want to make this popular. How do you make something popular? I think if something is good and reasonably priced, it will eventually become popular. If it is not doing so, that maybe because it is not good or it is not reasonably priced. So that is what I think right now. The two things that we are doing really good is making really good exams and making them really affordable to people, and that is working out really well for us. On a daily basis, every hour, at least 4 people take up by our exam.
Wow, amazing.
So our exam business, currently our pen testing business is feeding our exam business, but I think this time next year, our exam business will basically outgrow our services business.
Interesting. What type of things are you guys going to do for growth in terms of getting more people to work on these types of exams? Is it expanding the amount of exams that you guys are offering, or advertising, or what do you guys plan?
So I think you were also interested in this entrepreneur angle. So I'll give you a little insight into this business, and how it came about, etc., and then talk a little bit about the plans and marketing, etc. But let's go back to the original question: how it started. Okay, we talked about some failures, etc. So when I started SecOps Group, I did not have it in mind, but I'm going to start exam business. Okay, 18 months ago, the industry was, or the pen testing industry felt a little pinch, and we were one of those. So we had ample amount of time, maybe 3-4 weeks window, where we did not have enough consulting work. And we had consultants sitting around, and I said, look guys, we are creative people. We can't just sit around and wait for some work to land on our lap. The sales team is doing its bit, but let us find some creative ways to make impact into the industry. And typically those are to create webinars or create blogs, etc., which some people might read or not read. So we decided we will create some quizzes, okay, and launch this quiz online. And then suddenly from quiz, we said, okay, rather than making it quiz, let's just make it an exam. So we launched our first exam called Certified Ep.6 Practitioner, 60 minutes quiz. Come and solve this quiz, and we will give you a certificate. And we launched it for 2 3 months. Some people took, some people didn't take, and then suddenly, this started to take shape. So
How many people did you have at the time that were like taking it and getting the certificates? How many people at the beginning?
five maybe
Okay,
at
okay.
best. Not we were not getting any hits. But it was a case of. But the original approach was that not to sell it, because we knew nobody will going to pay money to buy our exam, because nobody has heard of SecOps Group. Back then we had 50 followers on LinkedIn, of which 20 was our own staff. you know so how are we going to sell this? It has got no legs on it. So we said, look, let's use it as a marketing angle to push our pen testing services. So we'll give it as for free and say, look, take our quiz or take our exam, and if you pass, you get a certificate. Post it on LinkedIn, tag us, associate us, and hopefully it will help our branding, our follower count, etc. And that was the original narrative around it. But then suddenly, so even when you were used to give it for free, maybe five people will take it, six people will take it in a month, etc. The traction was really slow. I think we started to get more and more traction after we launched some really good exams. We invested quite heavily into our AppSec practitioner exam, our AppSec pen testing exam, and we said, look, let us change the narrative of the industry. Why do we need people? If you have to test somebody's skills on pen testing, why do we need them to write reports and essentially have 48-hour window to sit down and take the exam, then create a report, then send it a report for review, which will take another 7 days, and which a reviewer may or may not read, and then you get pass or fail. And if your peer has to take the exam, that report will inevitably be recycled by your peers, etc. So let's change that narrative. So that's how it started, and I think we are at a stage now where the exam portfolio in 15 months has gone from one exam to, I think, 11 exams, and we got a lot of traction after we launched the LLM pen testing exam. So we took a lot of we did a lot of market research. Industry, we did hire some external people as well to give us some build some knowledge gaps that we may or may not necessarily have. Yeah, and I'm really, really grateful to where we are right now for the team.
Beautiful. I'd like to walk through the customer journey in terms of not the person that is purchasing the certificates, but then what leads you guys to get the business and how you guys used or originally built out the certificate program, and it helped you guys get leads. So with somebody at a company, they'd have their person, like, I don't know, pen tester, like, go and take your exam and say, hey, this company I did this certificate for, and then it's like, I wondered how good they are, I'd like to hire them. Like, what was the journey for them for you guys to start receiving more leads and stuff like that through their certificate process?
So first of all, look, from a business perspective, take a step back and let's understand. My previous background was building up a training company. Okay, and the problem with training companies is it was again a B2B sale, right? You are essentially approaching enterprises and saying, look, pay $2,000 plus per day of training to procure this one seat on training, right? Uh, and as your training portfolio, so it is expensive to hire a good trainer. It is expensive to maintain a good training class, which basically has so much content that for 2 days or 5 days training. Uh, and it is a challenge obviously to maintain it, not just cost, but also it's a challenge to keep it up to date with latest, etc.
A lot of time. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and as the training portfolio expands from one training course to say 4 or 5 training courses, then the cost and the effort goes up in the same proportion as well, right? Compare that to our exam only model, okay, which is quite thin. There is hardly any cost. All we are doing is providing them exam labs. We're not providing them any training content. We're not updating any training content. If we have to change the exam, we just change it overnight. We just push some new challenges, etc. It is very lean model. Okay. And to add new exam to the exam portfolio is not as mammoth an effort as creating a whole new training course and then keeping it up to date, etc. So it's a plus our cost. It's a B2. So that is the first thing which really triggered for me that look, we can actually build it as a full-fledged business rather than as an afterthought, which is how it started. That was the first thing. The second point was a typically consultancy process is a what we call as a top-down sales, right? You are telling the enterprise to procure it, and then once they have procured you at whatever price point that you are in, then you will eventually end up working, with the teams, or your work will get appreciated by the teams, etc. Compare that to our exam only model, which is typically a B2C model. So here, we are selling an exam for $100, $200. Okay. And people are basically procuring it by paying it through their credit card. They may go to a company and say, expense me this 100 quid. And the company will say, okay, 100 quid, who cares? Let's expense it. Or even if they don't, right? It's an investment into themselves, right? Most people will be happy to invest 50 to $100 into their own personal development without thinking twice about it. So what we are doing as a business is we are making friends at the ground level, right? We are making friends with the consultants. We are making friends with the SOC teams and analysts and whatever, right? And hopefully, once we've done that, then we can have a conversation with them and say, look, you liked our exams, right? How about you introduce us to the management and we talk about consulting services, etc. So that becomes a bottoms up approach coupled with the top down approach, which you will have with the consulting business.
Where are the people that are purchasing the certificate or purchasing the exams to take the exams? Where are they at in their journey to win? How they get led to you guys and say, okay, great, I want to spend money and continue with this.
So look, that model to basically expand the right now we are at a stage where we are getting so many leads come through for the exams that we don't have the manpower to basically siphon it out and say, look, let us approach these leads into other consulting services as well. And that's a good challenge for the business. That's something I need to spend my next 6 months into building a strategy into that. But yeah, some of the bigger customers that we have procured is at the back of our exams business. Because we've made an impact as a brand to stand out amongst our competitors, that we do this and we do that as well. Plus, or somebody has already taken our exam. They are already on par with, okay, how good or bad we are, and they want to work with us even more.
So from your previous company that was acquired, it was also a consulting firm that you guys did for pen testing services. And for SecOps Group, you guys also do consulting. Is there was there like setup of like any types of like agreements so that there wouldn't be a conflict of interest when you created SecOps groups?
Yeah, every time you sell a business, there will be some non-compete, there will be some restrictive covenants, etc., which you have to follow. Yeah, and you will have to navigate through those, and that is what we did as well. But look, the point that I was trying to make here is that there are so many consulting companies, right? If you look at the Crest website, the Crest member companies, there will be about 200, maybe I don't know how many consulting companies. And in that sea of consulting companies that is out there, what separates you? And the hard reality is not that much. Most consulting companies will pretty much follow the same rule book, right? They will pretty much run the same tools. Yes, that there will be some deltas in the skills. There will be some deltas in the communication process, the reporting process, etc., etc. But you will find majority of the times there will be there will be a lot of similarities as well. So how do you go about placing yourself as a business to procure more work than others? I think that is where businesses should look at using an alternate approach. That is what we are doing at SecOps Group as well.
Okay, beautiful. All right, nice. I'd like to talk more about the you as an investor now, if you'd like to now, or we can continue talking about SecOps Group as you prefer.
Now, so one of the things I was going to mention is that, look, if any of your audience here is from pen testing background and they want to take any of our exams, we are currently running a Black Friday sale. We are running a 90% discount across all our exams. So you can procure our entry level exams for $10 or £10, our professional level exams for £25, and I think for our expert level exams for £40, which is an absolute bargain. Our exams do not have an expiry window. So once you procure the exam, you can take the exam anytime you want, even 2 years after you purchase, maybe more. I don't know where I will be after 2 years, so I'm only quoting for 2 years. um, and it has a whole lot of other benefits as well. For example, the professional and the expert exams comes with one free retake if you fail the first exam. So look, 25 $40 into your career development. I personally would do it if I was in their position.
Yeah, it's a bargain. And then what dates does this go on sale for?
They are on sale now.
They're on sale now. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're listening to this, if you're in the audience, take advantage of this. Hop on SecOps Group and take advantage of this bargain.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me pitch it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Plug as much as you want in this podcast. I'm happy to add it in.
No, and I'm very happy to hear from audience's feedback, how we can improve, what we are doing wrong, what they like about our exams or not like about our exams. I think I take a lot of pride in being a disruptor in coming up with something like this. And I hope, and I'm pretty sure if it succeeds as a business, then we will see more people challenging us in our own game. And that is the beauty of it. But that would vindicate me. That would mean that I have done something right and there are other people taking up the baton as well.
Yeah, beautiful. So I had applied for CompTIA. You're familiar with CompTIA, I assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I applied for CompTIA was it 2021 or something like this? In 2022? And then I was talking to them, I'm like, how has business been due to COVID? And they're like, we actually grew in business because everyone was inside. They had nothing else to do. So the certificate program exceedingly went well. Anyways, I applied to them. I don't have anything positive to say. They gave me an offer and then they revoked it as soon as I came back to the United States. I flew back to take to receive it, and they no, never mind. And they just revoked it. So I have nothing positive to say about CompTIA. If you're going to do certificates, go through SecOps Group.
Okay. I'll stay away from the controversy, but yeah, please come and take our exams.
Yeah, it's probably best as it is. So, but the question is, you sold your company, and then for other people that maybe don't know, when you have an entrepreneur, when you sell a company, then you have some money. You can hold the company, generate revenue, or you can sell it, make a good multiple, and then usually you reinvest that money to have it grow. So eventually you'll be more relaxed down the line. A great way to make more money is you invest to build another company like Sid is doing right now. But additionally, it's investing. So we'd love to hear about the companies that you've invested to and kind of what inspired you to start investing, first off, and then how did you find these companies that you were interested, and where did you learn the skills to know what to look for?
Yeah, look, that's a very interesting topic. And thank you for allowing me a platform to share some of my journeys. I would like to start off by saying I'm not necessarily an investor. I'm still an entrepreneur in heart. Yes, I would invest some money into the business, but I don't like the title of investor. In fact, when some companies, they do put me down as an investor into the company, I absolutely hate it. I would much rather be a mentor to the business than an investor. Because investor basically, to me, means that you provided your money and that's it. You're out of it and your job is done. It's a case
More like a passive investor where you just give them the money. Here's the check, go do it. You prefer not even the active investing, but more be an advisory role. Does that sound correct?
I prefer being a co-founder. I
be co-founder. Okay. He wants to be an entrepreneur. That's right.
Yeah. I want to understand what the business is doing. I want to understand if I can add any value to the business or not. Right? If I understand the business, if it has problems which I can associate with and I have solved in the past or I want to solve now for them, then I will become part of those. But if I don't understand it enough, or if I don't feel I will be able to add any value to that business, then I will stay well clear of it. So the businesses that I've invested in, typically are people that I have either worked with directly in my previous roles, or I have known of them through common friends, or they have approached me and I've really liked their idea, etc. It's very rare that I go about on the internet searching for companies and say, oh, I want to invest into this. I would typically invest into the companies at a very early stage, where they don't even have a business. They have an idea that they want to convert it into a business. And if I like the idea, then I will form it into a business. Or in some cases, they are running a business as a lifestyle business, where the business is making just about enough money for them, but they don't know how to scale it up. And the first question then is to understand and identify, do they have the desire to scale it up? or
Right.
they're just
Yeah.
happy making their, x dollar per month, and let go of it. And I just come with them as a journey with zero returns. So it's a balancing act. You need to understand the product. You need to understand what they're trying to solve. Uh, can I add any value to it? Will they benefit from this thing? I have now a portfolio of companies. They have their own client base. Will their client base be of any value to this new addition if I bring in on board? So all those things go into, but ultimately I go with my gut feeling, and for me it is, yes, it would be good to have a great return from an investment, but again, another quote of mine is, I don't want to buy myself grief, right? I don't want to invest into a company and then identify that these guys don't even want to talk to me. Every time they see my WhatsApp saying, "Can we have a call?" They're like, "Oh no, not this guy again." I'm more than happy for the business to be written off. I'm more than happy for business to fail. Failures are part of life, um, but I want to enjoy the journey. And typically, my school of thought is that when good minds come together and if they enjoy the process, you will eventually make money. It's impossible not to make money if you are enjoying the process and you are working with clever people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, Greg Martin, the co-founder for Ghost Security, he said like he just wants to be able to feel like you're comfortable, that people he likes to work with, invest with. So it sounds like it's similar, that it's more about the individual, the person, where they're at in their journey and how you can help them relative to specifically the financial return based on what might be received. Is that correct?
100%, 100%. And what I have, my little experience, although I'm still quite early into this process as an angel investor, I have really enjoyed working with different sort of an entrepreneurs. And I've identified one thing I'm really good at is identifying people's strengths and weaknesses. There were some entrepreneurs who are not, who are amazing at their tech, and their tech was probably head and shoulders above, maybe a couple of years ahead of the industry, or the industry is not able to understand their tech, but their business acumen is not as good. So the ability to convey the message, the ability to sell the product was not amazing. But at the same time, I worked with some entrepreneurs whose tech is fairly average, but their business skills is so much more presentable that they are able to close some enterprises sale without doing too much. So I think as a mentor, that is one of my key strengths, is to identify what is working, what is not working. Maybe that you need to tell somebody, look, you will fit better into a CTO role, let us hire a CEO, and let him do the sales stuff, etc. Plus identifying, if you typically, I invest in products business, not services business, because already I have services under SecOps Group. Then to see how will that product fit into the existing portfolio. Can we approach some of the customers that we already know of, and see if they want to trial this product, be a design partner, or provide some feedback, those kind of things.
So you said that the majority of the people that you invest in have been people that you've worked with directly or are close to in proximity. Are you interested in people reaching out to you if they have any questions
100%,
about?
100%. Look, one of the things I told you earlier is what got you here won't get you there. so,
Right,
so
right.
you have to constantly try new things, and I'm always open to meeting new people, understanding what they do. And you look, no, again, I'm not an investor. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I like to meet entrepreneurs, right? Even if we don't end up doing business, even if there's no commercial interests aligned, let us exchange ideas, let's exchange notes. And that's the philosophy that I always work with. And if we like each other too much, we'll eventually find a way to do business.
And then are there any companies that I know that you've invested in, at least on your LinkedIn, it says that you've invested in multiple companies. Is there any companies that you want to talk to about specifically?
Yeah, so just a rundown of the portfolio. So SecOps Group is my main business, which is the pen testing services and pen testing exams. Then we have Red Hunt Labs. Red Hunt Labs is an attack surface management company, again, run by two bright individuals, Shubham and Sudhanshu. Both of them sit at Black Hat Review Board and have been a review board member for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. Very well respected in the field of attack surface management and OSINT. They also run trainings at Black Hat. So they have an attack surface management solution called Invader, which I feel is pretty awesome. Now, problem is that attack surface management is such a rundown term these days, especially after a few acquisitions and some big key companies offering it, that the message sometimes gets lost on the audience. But yeah, if you're looking for an ASM solution, please do reach out. Then I invested in a company called Pure ID, which was a passwordless authentication, which recently got acquired by Color Tokens. So I had an exit from there.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And that is run by a guy called Ajit Hatti, again a brilliant cryptography expert from India, who I have known for a long time. Then recently, I invested, not recently, 2 years ago, I invested in a company called Cyber Warfare Labs, CW Labs, which is an education company. So they run, they have training courses. So unlike SecOps Group, which is an exam only business, they are a more traditional model. So they have the online courses and on demand courses, and then followed by an exam, just like offensive security, etc. And their portfolio has also expanded quite a lot significantly in last 18 months or so.
How's that business relative to SecOps? Like you guys are doing two different types of missions and stuff like that. Are they generating? They must be spending a lot more time on the training side of stuff, like you mentioned. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, so that is an independent business that is not affiliated with SecOps Group, barring me. I mean, I am the only common factor between those two. But there is a lot of synergies because we are both operating in education businesses, so we are able to exchange notes quite periodically. We can see, okay, look, we tried this style of marketing, it worked for us. Why don't you try this, and vice versa? And that has been really good. But though very exciting times for them, they are currently launching an Infinity platform, which will be a continuous learning. So typically, online and on-demand trainings are a one-time, point-in-time activity. You buy a course and a lab associated with it, and then be done with it. So what they are launching is an infinity learning platform in which people can pay a subscription and have access to the lab, and in which they will add on a weekly basis or a monthly basis new challenges, etc., and have access to that as well.
Oh, very interesting. Okay.
And some of their flagship courses are on Red Team pen testing, Azure Cloud, Google Cloud, AWS, etc., which are very popular. And look, these guys again, Manish and Yash, who owns that business, they have been training at several international events as well.
Okay. Beautiful. Do you ever send them? Did you ever send people from your certificates over to them if they're like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, I need more training. Do you guys like have a mutual exchange?
Again, it's a bandwidth question. We've had some cases where people, in fact, we have a lot of inquiries come through and say, "Hey, so these are the exams. How do we prepare for these?" Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in which case we have to go back and say, look, guy, look, mate, did you not read this bit here, which says we do not provide training courses, and hence hence the cost as well. But in some cases, we are able to refer it to other businesses. But we've tried to keep a very independent take on that, wherein you can take these courses, but we are not affiliated with them, and by virtue of taking the courses, does not guarantee that you pass or fail our exam. And we want to keep that sort of a status.
So, what are you guys focusing right now at SecOps Groups, and then what's the vision for the future?
Our pen testing services is becoming is also growing. We've procured some Fortune 100 customers, so
Beautiful.
that is going really well. In fact, if anybody listening in your audience who's looking to procure a new pen testing company, please speak to us. We are fairly reasonably priced, fairly reasonably skilled as well, and I hope we will do a good job for you. So the vision is to keep growing the business, and I think I'm really excited. Expand our exam portfolio, like you mentioned, Azure pen testing, red teaming skills. Identify areas which are missing, like I identify areas that are upcoming, and create exams in those areas to basically better cater to the industry.
The next question I have is more about like any books or any education platforms that you've got. Not education platforms, but specifically books. Are there any books that you can recommend either towards the entrepreneur journey or to technical work, either or?
I am not a big fan of book, but was one mention that I think you asked me a question about how do I get into it,
Yeah.
into hacking and I was going to mention something that slipped my mind, and I just want to take a moment to recall that and also acknowledge something. So I got obsessed. I bought a book, Oracle Hacker's Handbook, in 2006, maybe, I don't know. One of the first books on hacking that I bought was Oracle Hacker's Handbook by David Litchfield, and that changed my life. And I was like, how is this guy finding these bugs? And it just seems fairly easy and nonchalant to him. And I think you mentioned about something which I could relate to at the beginning of the podcast. You mentioned that you wanted to follow somebody and follow somebody religiously and to get into his brain. How is he doing it? How is he not doing it? I had the same sort of a thing for David Litchfield. I was just so obsessed with this guy. Like, how is he finding these bugs? Let us forget about the bugs. How does he start his day? How would he even stumble? What is his thought process before he stumbled onto this thought of that there could be a vulnerability in here, let alone be actually exploitable. I think that was a changing point for me. So I found, I think that book and that guy changed my life. And I've met him 3 times at Black Hat, and I do remind him that what impact he has had on me. And I hope sometime in a few years' time, somebody will read some of my stuff and might have an impact. I might have an impact,
Yeah,
and
you gotta write that quote book. You gotta get some more books out.
yeah, possibly. Yeah, look, I'm not really a massive book reader, so sorry. As much as I would like to say, read this, thought leadership, entrepreneur, etc., I just like to go with the flow. I think do what works for you. Try not to be perfect. I think the world is better served by imperfect people. Just identify what you are good in and just focus on that. You may be rather than trying to do 10 things correctly, just do 1 or 2 things correct.
Okay. Let's say somebody like is in a company right now and they're interested in like potentially making a jump to create a product or something like this. What would you recommend they taking a look or research in resources that you would have them look up or at least like connect, or what would you have them do?
If somebody is building a product,
They want to build a product. They're at a company, let's say Apple, Google, whatever the case is, and they're like, maybe because the companies are so bloated, they're not able to expand out, and they're like, I could just go build this product out and then resell it back to Google or whatever the case is, or I could sell it afterwards, maybe in like in a few years, 3 to 5 years. What advice would you give them to help them learn how to develop the company?
oh, you've asked me to explain the Bible in 5 minutes.
I'll give you 6. How about that?
Look, I don't know. If I had known that, I would not be here. I will be the next speaker, right?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I don't know is the right answer, but I would start asking myself this question: why would somebody buy it? What is it that I am doing? And I think the problem is that all entrepreneurs are so passionate about
That's
their
the correct
craft.
answer. That's the only correct answer.
So most of us are so passionate about our craft that we think that somebody else will buy it, but people obviously don't think or don't relate to us. It's life is very different. If you're working for Google or Apple or Microsoft, once you leave the company, you will find life is very different on the other side. Once you do not have a big brand associated with you, and you're trying to make a big mark, and people's behavior, etc., will change. So that's why not all startups succeed.
No, definitely. I would say that the brand also follows you though. People like, I'm ex Google, I'm ex Meta, whatever, and then it's like, oh, this guy is ex Meta. Like, yeah, let him cut in on Starbucks. Like, he knows everything. Like, people just like gravitate towards people that have just gone out. But I definitely think that yeah, I asked a difficult question. But you answered it 100% right. Is that you have to determine there's a market fit. One of the things that we learned at the Y Combinator School was like, a new piece of technology will come out and people will be like, great, everybody wants this, right? So like if you go online and at least if you look through my feed, everyone's trying to sell me an AI startup or whatever the case is, like, oh, let's do everything for you. And it's like, just because there's a new technology doesn't mean there's a specific market fit for it. You need to determine that there's a market fit before you start doing stuff. Like, obviously you can do this through like a pilot or something, but code less, get people interested or wanting to know. And then once they're more invested in like the idea that they'd actually want to spend money, then you potentially have a product that's fit. But if you jump out there saying like, oh shit, AI just came out, cool, let me just sell this. If you don't have an audience base, you don't have a way to deliver it, it's not going to be successful. That's my thoughts. How do you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think as a founder, the first few sale or has to come from you. If you can't sell your product, no other salesman will be able to sell your product.
100%. Yeah, you have to. And I think that's really difficult for technical people. So I think that's what I want to know from you. How do you sell?
I don't. Look, I don't think I'm qualified enough to answer that question. I would typically find a hack. So rather than me trying to go and sell stuff, I would try to build a product which will pull the audience to me. For that's what we've done with the exam business, right? We don't go and knock on people's door and say buy this exam. We've created exam, people come and buy it off them. We have zero marketing, zero sales in that business, etc. But I think I would start, if I am a founder building a product, then I would start off with not a revenue ambition. I would start off with design partners. I will go and approach people and say, look, try my product, try my product for X amount of days. It's free, etc. Just give me feedback and try to embed me into your ecosystem if you can, so that I can learn from it, etc. And then eventually, what you are building will be what you are building right now will be very different from what you will end up building, right? So it is a case of constantly learn and improve, etc. You can't, and that's some of the problems that I feel with entrepreneurs, that they feel that they want to be perfect on day one. They want to make sure that, look, when we go and pitch our product to somebody, then it is absolutely perfect. It has all the dashboards, all these things lined up, etc. And that, I think, is you are doing it wrong. Even with our exam business, we didn't try to be perfect. We constantly improving things as we go along, and testing the market. Right? We tested the market with our quiz business. We said there is enough here to do an exam only business, and that's what we are doing.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. A lot of entrepreneurs think that the product needs to be perfect and then like the perfect MVP and then to launch it. But just quick stories. Airbnb, they had people take cash after sales, and that went horribly in the beginning. Justin TV, which is originally Twitch TV, it was just him with the camera on top walking around. And then Stripe for mobile payment or for payments, they had to send a developer to set it up on because it was so complicated. And the first few companies didn't know how to do it. So just get your product out there. Get people trying it, or at least figuring out some point, so that way you have some feedback. And the most valuable feedback is going to be people that are actually paying. Once they pay, then build upon that. Because if you like listen to people like, that are, using your product for free, and you say, hey, we want to build these 5 features. Would you like that? They're going to say yes. Why would they say no? But then if you're like, would you pay for it? Then they'll be like, yeah, maybe not. Because then you know where you spend your development time. A lot of people just do that, and it's terrible. They waste so much development time.
And I personally feel that, look, the community angle is very important, right? You need to have an aspect of your product where people can try it for free, right? Rather than asking people for money. I mean, Burp Suite is a very classical example. I mean, it's hard to imagine any pen tester, even before it became professional, not use Burp Suite. And then gradually, once it is embedded into the ecosystem, then you build the empire.
Yeah, did exactly that. Terrific. Yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you so much. I want to know what's new or what's going on specifically in your life, and what do you have going forward? Is there any other promotions or things that you want to give a shout out to?
We'll look still very open to work with more businesses. If there are any entrepreneurs out there listening to your podcast who have, or wannabe entrepreneurs who have great business idea, but just hesitant in taking a financial risk, quitting their well-paid job, but want to just bounce ideas off, please reach out. Always open. Lines are always open. Like I said, I'm not necessarily here to do business. Hopefully, if things align together, we will do business, but always keen to exchange ideas. So yeah, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to people.
Yeah, of course. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, I think, is the best. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. Send me a connection request. As long as it's not an overly sales pitch, I'll accept it.
Yeah. This is advice from a recruiter. If you're gonna reach out to somebody, say, hey, how's it going? This is where I discovered you. I would love to connect and talk about this if you're interested. Don't be pushy and say, we're doing this, we're Series A. No one. I avoid all those messages. I don't know about other people, but
yeah, LinkedIn can be a bit of a minefield, and I can understand. Look, as an entrepreneur, I do it myself. I would reach out to people on LinkedIn and say, look, hey, do you want to talk to me about procuring your next pen test, etc. So I wear both the hats. It's a tricky territory to navigate.
Are you open to being on like people's advisory board for potential equity stake?
Less keen on that, because I don't
Less
want to
keen
be
on that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a VC. I don't want to do spread betting. Bit of this, bit of that. I want to handpick people, and I want to back them with my money, back them with my words, back them with my work, and take that's how I don't like to do half-hearted stuff.
Okay, got it. But also being an active investor where you meet with them on a weekly or monthly basis or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all these
basis?
businesses that I mentioned earlier, I'm an active investor, so I would back them with some money as well. It is not just a case of, yes, I have achieved so much, so you can get all my wisdom, but not my money. No, there will always be money involved if I'm
Okay.
part of it.
The question was like more about time. They have your time too, right? And
Absolutely,
connection, network,
absolutely,
stuff
and
like that.
that's
Okay.
something that if they are not interested in my time, then that is a red flag.
Okay, yeah, perfect. And additionally with networks, so this is just a tip for people that are seeking investors, like research the investors. There's a lot of investors out there, and you want to find ones that gravitate specifically to areas that you need help with and have a network that can help you, right? If someone cuts you a check and then they disappear, then you get the guy from Silicon Valley or whatever the case is, or Russ Handelman, who's just like, all right, here, and then his ambitions are completely different. Find somebody that actually can connect you and stuff like that. So
That's right. Yeah, and it's a tricky field because look, you will typically try to reach out to, or this advisory role is typically offered to CISOs with the pretext that maybe they will help you get into the company that they are CISO in, but it will come with a condition that they will not be talking to the company that they work for because it's a conflict of interest, etc. So that kind of takes away all the sweetness associated with you giving the equity, and then essentially you are relying on their time and their keenness. Everything has its pros and cons. I like to wear the entrepreneur hat. I don't have a deep network of people, but I do have fairly decent one, and I try to utilize them with only a specific hand-picked products that I firmly believe in. So that's why I'm also very picky on the portfolio.
okay. All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Sid. This has been a terrific talk. Is there anything else that you'd like to add and share to the community?
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for your time. You've been very generous. Thank you for letting me talk about all these things. I hope people will benefit from it, and I hope lines are always open if somebody wants to reach out.
Yeah, of course. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Chris.
We hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you. And Chris, all the very best to you, mate. I know for you also, personally, this podcast, you're starting off currently in your home office, sort of a studio.
Yeah, little tiny thing.
I hope it grows very soon. I have seen some amazing things happen. So very best to you. You seem to have all the great business acumen, and your discipline is also worthwhile mentioning. So carry on with this, and I'm sure you will do well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope so. I hope to be as successful as you. I just got to keep tracking. And
No. If you are as successful as me, then I will be disappointed. You have to go 5 steps, ahead of me. Please.
that's a good leader. Yeah, for the audience, if you're ever following somebody or inspired by anybody, they should want to have you more successful than them. If they're like, I want you to do good, but if you get close to me, then I'll be upset. That's not a good leader in general. You got to find somebody else. So I appreciate that. Very kind words.
Genuinely mean it. I say it to people who I've worked with in the past and I will work in the future. Look, you are not going to be the only successful man in the world, and if you think like that, then you are the biggest fool in the world. So, and it could well be that the people that you are currently working with are going to be far more successful than you, and in that case, if you are clever enough to identify them, then do it as quickly as you can.
Yeah. Then you can help them grow, and by doing so, they'll be there to help you grow. It's I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the entrepreneur spirit and being around it is it's set up as a win-win-win. I win, you win, society wins, right? And I think another business lesson, a lot of people will think oh, who do I need to whose business do I need to destroy so mine can grow? And it's if you're thinking that, you've already failed. There's just so much market out there that you need to grow. The only people that talk about that kind of stuff are maybe if you're a monolithic giant like Elon Musk or something like this, where you've got so much market share and you've already dominated so much. By that point, maybe, but even then, there's no way you'll get off the ground unless you talk about growing and working with people. So if you want to go if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people.
100%, mate. 100%. Right. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for your time, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Sid. Have a great day.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Cheers.